And tell me
And
more about that in terms of, so now you figured out in terms of the investment pool, like the type of investor that you're really looking for, which is very important. And so then now trying to find those investors that really believe in the mission and less concerned about, you know, initial return. How did you go about sourcing them?
yeah, that's a really, I mean, that's a really good question, because it seems easy. You're like, okay, I had a friend who was in finance and she said, oh, you got to go for impact investment. I'm like, okay, yeah, impact investment. I did the searches, got all the lists of the impact investors, but they were not interested in health. Health is scary. They were not interested in a long-term business model. Our business model is more long-term. They were more interested in perhaps opening like a safe house for people or a soup kitchen that could provide things. So lower risk. And we are indeed a high risk business, very much based on a long-term business model, and our return wasn't going to appear in, you know, our break-even point wasn't going to appear within 3 years, perhaps within 5, but most likely it's 7 years. So we really needed people who had an extraordinary look on life, and that wasn't indeed the normal impact investors. But that's, again, like the first time around, you need to make your mistake. You have to find out. So I went past all those people, went to all the conferences, spoke to everyone who I thought could play a role in this and would still be an impact investor. But I ended up essentially talking to a friend of a friend at the end of the day, and it was actually it's this very strange story, but it's actually a cancer patient who introduced me to this person. So because I was so specialized in breast cancer, you know, I've been working for 4 or 5 years in breast cancer. I had a friend asking me to help one of their friends with breast cancer. And so I did that, and it's an amazing person. She became a really good friend. And she didn't make it. And literally 3 weeks before her death, she said, I have my friend who's really rich interested in your company. He feels what you're doing is really worthwhile. He's seen my journey and how you and your business can help people like me, and how it can be scalable, because when it's mobile, you can help me with the right information. I use the app, but making this now available to lots of other breast cancer patients like me is going to be really helpful. So it became a tech entrepreneur himself, a highly successful tech entrepreneur who was her neighbor. Total coincidence. And he became our prime investor, and has this long-term outlook that we were looking for. So yeah, that's just the luck. And now we're obviously on route, and we're expanding, and we think we can attract further funding, but he's really a key piece and a key person in our route to success.
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing.
It's an unorthodox story, isn't it? It wouldn't be your average story. Yeah, it is not your average story. Yeah.
But I think the story is so amazing, because you know, so many people think that. And I think it's good that it's a long story, because so many people think that, oh, you know, it's going to be quick, or they're just not realistic in terms of what the journey is actually going to take. And, you know, how many obstacles and how many, you know, things that you think are going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. And they envision this happy trail, you know, sort of smooth, linear way of getting through things. And it's not that way. And I think that it's important, especially for entrepreneurs, to have that understanding of, yes, it's going to take a long time, but it doesn't mean that your idea isn't valid. It doesn't mean that this isn't going to work. It's just a matter of just going through the process, trusting the process, and it will happen.
Exactly. And it is believing in your own product, believing in your own concept and vision, that you need to stay true to, because that's the only, if you don't fully believe in your own concept, then you think of, let it go, you do something else. But once you're convinced, yeah, then stay true to it, because it is it is the one thing that's the backbone of your base, your business, and you need to find things that fit that really well. And I think the difference with the first time is that I became more critical. So I said no. I said literally to people who wanted to. I had money on the table, and then you say, what are your conditions? And we say, well, we have a foundation to protect the user data, for example, because we feel it's really important to always have the user's trust. So we say, we put that in a separate foundation. And yes, as a business, we have a license to that, an exclusive license. He didn't like that. The investor said, no, 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 I want the data in the business, and that's what we want to sell. I said, that's not us. We do this in a highly ethical way, and if you can't be with us, then we're not doing this together. So you really have to go with what you believe is best and stick to that.
Absolutely. I mean, the values that you believe in and that you built the company on, you can't compromise that.
No.
Once money comes along. I think that that's so important, especially when you're talking about healthcare and data and protection of people. It's so important, and I think that it's so amazing, and it's just so great to hear that you've done that. And I think that more technology companies need to practice what I call responsible technology leadership, responsible leadership, where you're not only looking at what your product can do and how much money it can make, but you're also making sure that you're developing your business and your technology in a way that's ultimately going to protect the people that it's seeking to serve. And I think that if more leaders thought about that, especially in the tech space, you wouldn't see a lot of the headlines that we've been seeing over the last several years.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So right. Yeah, and that's what we have to stand for, and we can do better. You see, we can do better than some of the big tech headlines that we've seen, and we know that, and that's what we do. It will be a longer route, but I think a longer and safer route. And this is where we need to go with businesses for the future.
Agreed.